Today, inshallah, we will continue and study another pair of characteristic, which is the opposite, which has an opposite, and this is حروف الاستعلاء, حروف الاستفال, الاستعلاء والاستفال. So, and the opposite side, حروف الاستفال. Okay, حروف الاستعلاء means the permanent heavy letters, the permanent heavy letters. These letters are the letters of استعلاء. Whenever we pronounce them, we will pronounce them in a heavy way. Okay, what does that mean? As you can see here in الإستعلاء, this is the استعلاء. As you can see here in this diagram, the back of the tongue in الاستعلاء is what is elevated, is raised. Okay, in the استعلاء, the back of the tongue will be elevated whenever we pronounce these letters, the letters of الاستعلاء. The letters of الاستفال, the tongue won't be elevated, it will be lowered. It will be lowered, not raised. And there is a group in between الاستعلاء والاستفال. Sometimes the letter will be pronounced heavy and sometimes the letter will be pronounced. So we have الاستعلاء and we have الاستفال and we have the group between them. Okay, so let's start with حروف الاستعلاء. حروف الاستعلاء, they are 7 letters which are gathered in خص ضغط قض. These are the elevated letters, or حروف الاستعلاء, خص ضغط قض. Okay, so whenever we pronounce these 7 letters, we pronounce them in a heavy way. Okay, with elevating the back of the tongue, yes, and putting pressure on the roof of the mouth. So instead of saying kha, we say kha, elevation of the back of the tongue and put pressure on the roof of the mouth. Okay, this is for any letter of حروف الاستعلاء. By elevating the back of the tongue and putting pressure on the roof of the mouth. So kha, sa, ba, ta, va, gha, qa. So instead of saying خالدين, we say خالدين, خالدين فيها. Okay, so whenever these 7 letters are present with fatha, dhamma, or kasra, or even sukun, we pronounce them in a heavy way. Okay, but that doesn't mean that they are going to be at the same level. No, they are not going to be at the same level. Okay, so when these 7 letters have fatha, for example, qala, the qaf here, when the qaf has a fatha, it will be pronounced in the strongest way, in the strongest manner. Okay, will be, yes, the heaviest one. So when I say qala, qaf with fatha, qa. But if the qaf has a dhamma, like qulu here, qulu, compare these two letters. So if I say qala, qala is heavier, is the strongest. It's just, so the dhamma, qulu, is just below the fatha, but still considered as a heavy letter. And when the qaf has a sukun, for example, aqwam, it's the third strongest. And when the letter has a kasra, this will be the least strongest. For example, qila. Okay, so these are the letters of خص ضغط قض, are the letters of الاستعلاء, and the rest of the letters other than خص ضغط قض are حروف الاستفال. And as we mentioned before, there is a group in between, part-time heavy and part-time light. Okay, the scholars of the Quran didn't give it a name. This is alif, lam lafz al-jalala, and ra, 3 letters in between them, sometimes heavy and sometimes considered light. So alif and lam lafz al-jalala and ra. We explained before lam lafz al-jalala, the rules of lam lafz al-jalala, and we explained the rules of ra. We're gonna do the alif today. So the alif, it has 2 ways. When the alif is heavy, and when it's light. So how to know when the alif is heavy and when it's light? When to pronounce it heavy and when to pronounce the alif light. Okay, if the alif comes after one of the 7 letters of خص ضغط قل, yes, the alif will be stretched or will be pronounced as a heavy letter. For example, قال. This is the alif. Okay, the alif came after a heavy letter. Okay, so I say قال. The alif here will be pronounced as a heavy letter. Okay, because it came after a heavy letter from خص ضغط قذ letters, from the حروف الاستعلاء. So the stretching will be pronounced as a heavy letter. But when I say مال, this is the alif. So the alif came after استفال letter, not استعلاء letter, not a heavy letter. Okay, so I'm not going to say مال. No, I say مال. It will be light, but this one will be heavy. Okay. Now let's move to the استفال, the lowering letters. The second group, the rest of the letters permanent light letters. Okay, whenever they have kasra, fatha, dhamma, sukun, they will be pronounced in a light manner. For example, when I say sharri, focus on the sheen letter. Sharri, sha. We don't say sharri, shar. No, we say sha. We don't elevate the back of the tongue, and we don't put pressure on the roof of the mouth. So sharri, not sharri. Maliki, not maliki, because it's from the استفال letters. So حروف الاستعلاء are 7 letters خص ضغط قذ, gathered in خص ضغط قذ, and the rest of the letters are called حروف الاستفال.